There's 900 million people without access to clean drinking water, and it's growing. Despite all of modernity, it's not getting smaller. But as an engineer, as a scientist, as a designer, that fact does nothing for me. I have zero idea how to go handle that. But if I see why water is dirty in a specific village in Mali, like how it gets passed around, how it gets delivered, how people consume it, how it gets in their lives, suddenly tons of engineering designs, tons of design ideas come to the fore. They flood in. It's like debugging an operating system. It's like debugging the operating system of all of collective consciousness. So I'm going to share a couple debugs so you know what it's like. So debug number 1. There's actually 3 gaps for everything. There's the knowledge gap, there's the practice gap, and the mastery gap. Now, let's say you told your parents, it's like, I saw this thing, it's so exciting, it's got 2 wheels and somebody was doing this. And they, being supportive parents, they went to the library and got you like 50 books on bicycles. Well, you could spend your entire life in the knowledge gap reading every one of those books. And at the point that I put a bicycle in front of you, nothing. Because let's say you never read a single book on a bicycle, but you did have your first contact. And instead of spending all the time in the knowledge gap, I said, well, let's just practice a little bit. But you'll see very quickly that you're going to be able to start to move. You're going to be able to go somewhere in a wobbly way. This is you crossing the practice gap. But the beginning of the master gap is where beauty begins, because there's 100 ways to be a master at riding a bike. You could be a master ultramarathoner. You could be awesome at BMX tricks. There's 100 ways to be a master of anything that has depth. And all of mastery is an infinite well. Now, once you get down one of those mastery chains, what's happening here is you are expanding what's possible for human beings, period. Another debug. When you think about a painter doing an oil painting, they're in the medium. The medium is oil paint. They can correct it in all these ways. The feedback's immediate. But imagine for a second that you were trying to do a painting, and as an oil painter, what you did instead is you have an idea, you're going to put this brushstroke down. But instead of putting the brushstroke down, you stop and you're like, okay, I got to write a specification. Then after the specification is written, I got to put it in some spec reviews. And then after the spec reviews and presentations, I need to show it to the development manager. And the development manager starts arguing with me and only wants to do half of it. And you're like, oh, fine, well, let's just get something done. And then a brushstroke comes on. When I do a brushstroke that is not the best, it doesn't feel like failure at all. It's like scrape and then go, and then go, and then go, and then, oh, okay, scrape and then go, and then dab and then go. Right? That's what that feels like. It feels nothing like failure at all. Our construct of failure comes from being outside of the medium. And when you're in the medium, then this beauty is possible. The creation of a masterpiece is possible. I remember a time when I was in 2nd grade, and my teacher taught me fractions, and I actually got fractions really fast. And I remember one day in 2nd grade, I was like, I know all of math. Now, and the teacher actually was like, yes, you do. Was she lying to me that day? In a way, not really, because I still use addition and subtraction every day, right? Those lessons from 2nd grade still matter. So this entire belief that this climbing the ladder obviates the rest of it is madness. And the entire belief that the ultimate truth is more important than this process of allowing society and culture to metabolize all these different lessons at all layers is madness. So with that, I just put a question to all of you guys. Instead of chasing success, perhaps the only question to ask is, how can you love your medium long enough to create a masterpiece?